Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So I've been thinking a lot since last Thursday about this chapel, about what we do here, about how we share our lives with one another, how we share our lives with this community, with this nation, and how we share our lives with the great spirit of love that has 1,000 names, one of which is God. Now, I've been around for 81 years. And in that time, I've watched our national society go through some changes. I grew up in the 1950s when life in the U.S. was pretty calm and orderly, and also sometimes a little boring, and sometimes stifling for anyone who didn't quite fit the mold. I went to college in the 60s, which was a time of upheaval and change, including the Civil Rights movement and the Vietnam War. And that was a time when lots of Americans were really angry with each other, the way many people are right now. Things calmed down again in the 80s, but then the digital revolution started, and now with these devices, which I have, although others aren't allowed to, with the internet and social media and AI, I think we're in the midst of one of the biggest waves of change in human history. And we're really, really struggling with how to deal with it. Some people want to go back to the way it was in the 1950s, and others think the world isn't changing fast enough. And we're really struggling as a nation to hold on to a sense of community. Too many people are angry and not talking to each other. Instead, they're making a lot of noise, waving fists or guns, threatening each other, as if the side with the most anger, the most noise, the side that makes the biggest storm is going to win out. So our first reading this morning is about Elijah. Elijah was a prophet in ancient Israel. He lived in a time of turmoil. He'd gotten in bad with the king who wanted to kill him. So Elijah's life was in danger, and he ran off to a mountain in the wilderness seeking God and seeking the answer to his problem. Elijah was expecting that God would show up with a lot of noise, a big storm. And there was a big storm, a storm that in the Bible it says the storm tore up the mountain. But God didn't appear in the storm. Then there was an earthquake, but God wasn't in the earthquake. And then there was a great fire, and God still wasn't in the fire. And finally, there was a still, small voice. And that's where Elijah found what he was looking for. And in our second reading this morning that Kevin read for us, in the poem from Rumi, Rumi says he looked in all the well-known important places, all the places that were famous for having been places where God appeared to somebody. He looked in all those places, all those famous shrines, but he didn't find God until he looked into his own heart. So these are old stories, and they're written in old language. But I think the core message they have to tell us is still true. In the midst of all the confusion and shouting and anger in the world around us, there's still one place we can go to make sense of this life, and it's deep in our own hearts. It's in the still small voice we hear in our hearts. The voice, as I think of it, the voice of the great spirit of love, the voice of the great I am. We can't bully our way into finding that voice. The more noise we make, the more we try to throw our weight around, the farther we are from finding that voice. The more we try to force it, the farther we are from finding that voice. It's only found in humility. It's only found when we let go of our self-importance, our self-concern, our focus on ourselves, and bow ourselves down to something that's greater than we are. And when we find that humility, and when we let ourselves surrender to that spirit that's greater than we are, we can be transformed. We can be made new, set free, made whole and complete, and filled with a love and joy that we have a sense that it's possible, but it's beyond our imagining. That's what happened to Elijah and Rumi. And Mother Teresa, our third reader, who wrote our third reading. And the invitation to that is there for all of us. All we have to do is listen to that still small voice that's already with us, that's already hidden deep in every one of our hearts. And I think it's when we listen to that inner voice that we begin to be able to deal with the crazy world around us. So often, we want to take on the world. We want to fix the world. We want to fix the political world. We want to fix all the struggles that go on in our communities. But I think what the voice always tells us is that love is the answer. It's the only real answer. Finding the voice is the answer. And then caring for one another, no matter who we are, that's the only real way that we can have a community that lasts, a community that we all hope for, the community that we try to build here at Brooks. And that I think we do a pretty good job. The voice tells us that the way to help make that community happen is to serve one another. It's not to boast, not to shout, not to beat our breasts and argue, but to look at others, to look at the people around us and see their needs and serve that. All the great teachers, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Lao Tzu, you name it, they all told us real leadership is serving others, not ourselves. Servant leadership is the way, and I encourage you to make that your goal. So speaking of servant leadership, I want to end by recognizing all the good leaders who serve to build up the Brooks community here in Chapel. And I'll ask these leaders to stand as I say their names and then stay standing. And those of you in the congregation, I know you're going to want to clap for each person, but please hold your applause. So first, our chapel prefects, T.Y., whom we also know is Tristan Yepto, Jasper Johnson, Abigail Nam, Namya Bandi, Phoebe Kogan, Posey Connell, Jules Giordano, Kevin Kahu, Eliza Keekley, Elisa Labranti, Grace Pilkington, Sophie Schluter, and Jonathan Stokes. And our music team, Mr. Humphreyville, who's been serving this community for 37 years, Dr. Brucey, there's Dr. Brucey, and Dr. D'Angelo, and I think Reverend Ofori, our Dean of DEIB, is not here this morning. And our IT team, these are true servants who lead from behind the scenes, Mr. Dobbins, Mr. English, and Mr. Moffett. So can we have a round of applause for all these good servant leaders? Thank you. You can be seated. That's my sermon for today. Thanks for listening. God bless you all.